welcome to today's PaynePoints of Interest. I'm Sarah Harbuck, and with me is Mike Payne, and we're just going to jump right in today with a question about tax forms. This question comes from the Reddit user Shaw421. It says, is there an explanation of various tax forms for running my business or dealing with freelancers? I'm surprised there isn't something out there. I can't seem to find a clear explanation of what kinds of forms you should issue to people and when. Like, I know that a $600 minimum is needed for freelancers, like a 1099. For example, my accountant is telling me to issue W-9s to all of my service providers, including even my landlord. But I have never had a business issue me a W-9, 1099 for any of my services. Not sure if they're being overly cautious or are they being lax. So, Mike, I think this is a topic that a lot of small businesses struggle with. What kind of tax forms to use, who to issue them to, what are the minimums, maximums? Is there a great resource that kind of gives an idiot's guide to this kind of stuff?
There's a bunch of stuff out there when you Google, but I wouldn't say a definitive source.
Like a comprehensive list.
That I know of off the top of my head. I mean, it may very well be out there, but the basics are pretty straightforward. Okay, the tax form W-9 is an informational tax form, and its purpose is for somebody who is either a sole proprietor, a partnership, or an LLC, to provide you with the information you will need in order to issue them a 1099 at the end of the year. Okay? It is evidence that you have collected the appropriate information. That's what a W-9 does. It is equivalent to filling out a W-4 when you're an employee.
Yes.
Okay? Now, the important part about that is the only people who need to fill out W-9s are independent contractors, which is just people doing business underneath their own name, sole proprietorships, which may be doing under a DBA, but still underneath the person's social security number, or partnerships and LLCs. Okay, because an LLC, while it is a separate entity, it's a pass-through entity, and behind the scenes, the government really technically sees that entity as just an extension of the owner or owners. Okay, so if you do more, as mentioned by the user, if you do more than $600 in sales to an entity like that, then they should have, if you pay them more than $600, you should have a W-9 for that person. Mm-hmm. Okay? At the end of the year, at the end of tax year, prior to January 31st, your business will issue 1099s to each person who you paid more than $600. So you're going to need that information one way or the other. The W-9 is just the best way to collect it.
Yeah.
Okay? And those 1099s are reported back to the federal government because the people who receive the money from you will need to claim that as income on their taxes. So those are really the two major forms. There are a lot of other forms for business. If the thing here, I've never had any business issue a W-9 or 1099 for any of their services. There's a bit of a gray area here. We don't know if this user is running an LLC or a corporation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no information here.
The deal is, if you are a full corporation, a C corp, you do not need to do this for anything you sell, because a C corp is a completely separate entity from its owners. Okay. There are certain tax advantages and certain other items that you may not want to take advantage of when running a C corp, but that may be the reason, and that the accountant's advice here is sound. You want to issue W-9s to anybody who is paying you that money. If your accountant is doing it that way, and if you don't trust the advice of the accountant here, I would absolutely recommend getting a second opinion from another accountant.
Yeah, I contacted our our CPA that does most of our taxes for our other bigger businesses that are way more complicated when I was running my photography business, and was like, hey, what do I need to issue to stay straight with the government and the tax office and everything else? And she told me, okay, give them this, this, and this if these minimums have been met. So, as a photographer, I would hire other photographers to help me on jobs or send them on jobs. And I would keep a record of how much I'd paid and this, that, and the other. And most of them all surpassed the $600 minimum. So I had to issue 1099s to all of them. You can request these forms at the irs.gov website, and they will send them to you free of charge. You can also go, I think, to the post office. I don't know if our local post office has them. I know they have like the major 1040s and everything like that. I don't know if they have all the littler forms. Or any CPA office could help you out and fix you up with whatever you needed. So yeah, if you run a sole proprietorship and you hire out people to help you as contract labor, you got to give them a 1099 if they've been paid over $600. And you can go on the website and you can request these forms, and they will send you instructions on how to fill them out. Of course, I got some help just to make sure I was doing it all correctly, because you just don't want to be too lax with that kind of thing, and have the government knocking on your door later and be like, we're gonna audit you. So do what you can to keep that from happening. But I think anything you have questions on, or any kind of uncertainty that you might have, always contact a CPA who specializes in maybe small business taxes. They'll really know the ins and outs for you and can really get you set up. And it might be a little bit of a fee right there up front, but then from that point forward, you'll pretty much know what to do, and you'll only need them for tax time after that. So,
yeah, this is an area of business that is really difficult for a lot of people, because it's a gray area. You're not only is it a gray area, you are likely to get pushback from your vendors, and this is one of those times when it's important to stand your ground. If you need to issue a vendor a 1099, then before you start doing business with them, or before you do more than $600 in sales with them, make sure you have at the very least their formal business name, address, and tax identifier, whether that be Social Security or EIN.
yeah.
Even if you don't have a full form. People kind of sometimes get sketchy when you ask them to fill out government forms. But W-9 is a pretty standard procedure, and I know in the software side, working with enough contract companies and LLCs, it is not absurd. In fact, I don't even necessarily have to issue them a blank form. A lot of the companies I work with, myself included, PaynePoints included, there's a W-9 already there for the tax year. And whenever somebody needs it, I just send them that.
Yeah.
And it does that. That's all you need to do. You don't need to fill out the form multiple times unless the information has changed.
Yeah.
But it's important. It's important to do it. It's important to issue that because if it comes down to the IRS doing an audit and they see you're paying a lot of contract services, but you haven't issued 1099s, then they're going to treat that like a personal expense, not like a business expense, and that's going to get you in trouble.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, tax stuff is it's tricky. If you have any experience with this and you want to give us your comments or advice or some pearls of wisdom that we did not mention, hit us up on our social media, Facebook and LinkedIn at PaynePoints, Twitter at PointsPayne, and Instagram at Payne.points. I think that's going to be all for us today, but we'll catch you guys tomorrow.